All right. So I'm going to do a couple of quick intros. And thanks everybody for joining the SalesStack Blab interview today on July 2nd. My name is Chris, aka Sales Nerdo. I'll serve as your facilitator. With us today, we have London Nagai. He is the SDR manager at Appboy. Has a lot of experience working with Foursquare. And London, what was the other company?
42 Floors.
42 Floors, exactly.
Yeah.
Very excited to pair you today with Alex A.T. Turner, head of inside sales at PeopleLinx, good friend of SalesStack, and also Nick LaFond, enterprise sales executive with Talent IQ. Our topic this morning is to address two issues that have kind of been real challenging in the SalesStack community right now. One is how to scale your SDR, BDR teams, something that both of these gentlemen are actively working on. And later on in the show, we'll look at what we call MOFU, or middle of the funnel issues, and how to basically address those issues as soon as possible so that your deals don't end up just kind of going out to pasture. London, any initial comments that you'd like to share with the audience? Just some high points with regards to your backstory and what brought you to Appboy?
So actually, like Nick, I was in the Army before this. So we were both infantry guys. And then I got my first foray into startups at Foursquare. I actually have a Foursquare buddy in the audience right now. And that's really where I started my sales stuff, working under a really cool manager from Yext. He was one of the first people at Yext, so he had like a really heavy cold calling background. Opened up the Chicago market, and then moved on to 42 Floors, where I really started building out BDR teams. From 42 Floors, I was introed into Appboy, and right now that's what we're focusing on, is really getting like a robust and personalized SDR team up and running, to help generate some big accounts.
And tell us a little bit about your YC experience.
YC is awesome. In terms of like networking, who you meet is pretty impressive, and everyone's very much open to trying new things. So getting to work in that environment after Foursquare, where I came into a startup that was a little bit more established, was awesome. Sitting right next to an engineer, building a CRM, getting to talk to a lot of really, really intelligent people. It was a really cool community to be around.
Fantastic. Alex, give us some high points of your backstory and how you got to PeopleLinx.
Gotcha. Cool. So super passionate about inside sales, sales development, and engagement. Started my career at a place that at the time was called PC Helps. They now are called Vitalist, local here to Philadelphia. And I don't think there was a better place that I could have gotten kind of my foundation for outbound. It was aggressive. It was monitors off and call sheets and hard and specific and lots of dials. But everything after that is the teams that I've been fortunate enough to build. It was that structure and that cadence and process that was what I took to build. From there, spent some time in the kind of outsourced BDR world. So like outsourced appointment setting, along with Dan Saravallo, who was the founder, and Pete Magliacco, built a company called NetTel Partners, rest in peace. And we were Avaya's primary appointment setters for all their channel partners. And so we had a team of Philly guys, super passionate that Philly is a great place to be a BDR. 30 guys at our peak that were calling outbound and finding opportunities, setting appointments for Avaya and their channel partners, and Cisco, HP, a couple others. And that's what really got me to kind of click with all of this. That's when I really knew, okay, I need to be a builder and not go into somebody else's preconceived structure. I'm super passionate about the development side of it, not just sales development as what we understand it today, but the development of my team and the development of myself and the resources around me. And that doesn't just mean the kid just out of college that is my next BDR hire. It also means like Sarah, the office manager, and Fracus, who's like an analyst here, and the way they support my team and doing data projects and things like that, and just helping develop people all the way up. So whether it's developing deals from tofu, mofu down through bofu, or it is a matter of, developing my people, that's where all my energy is.
AT, sales as a culture, right on.
Yeah, man.
Nick, join us a little and tell us a little of your backstory and what got you so passionate about what we're doing right now.
Right. So I've had the classical engineer to entrepreneur journey, and this is a topic that's got a little bit of press in the past, and it's something that I think that I want to continue exploring, at least publicly, because it's an interesting mix of skills. But I ended up in sales kind of by accident. I was working for a startup company in Los Angeles that was manufacturing a really expensive GPS receiver, so it was a physical product. The cool thing about moving into sales with this product is that I helped the design team create the product, and I actually knew through supporting it with customers all over the world, I knew the product better than anybody else. So moving into a technical sale was very natural, and I think that was an easy transition. But once I got on the sales side, I knew I would never go back to engineering.
Thank you, Nick. And I think managing sales teams is really much the theme for today. A lot of us recognize that sales is the new science, and that you can manage your pipeline using a lot of data and a lot of metrics. But really the question that I want to challenge you guys all with today is, what's the science of managing your own sales teams? Once you've hired and trained, I think you're actually in the middle of the funnel, if you will, with your own group, your own team. And just like you are out in the fields, let's say, how do you bring those metrics back internally with regards to growing and specifically coaching? London, I'm gonna ask you first. What are you doing to coach your teams? I know you've got 8 SDRs or BDRs, and you're looking to hire a new one. Tell us a little bit about that funnel.
Yeah, so I think the first thing, especially for like an SDR team, is kind of getting like higher to understand what the real role is. A lot of times people like to break it up as like sales and engineering. Break it down.
Looks like London is frozen. Okay, we're going to jump to you, Alex. Same question.
Yeah, it comes down to like setting expectations and knowing who it is that you're working with, and like it being a level playing field. Not necessarily a level playing field with like everyone that's out on my floor right now, but a level playing field of my expectations, my CEO's expectations, and the expectations of that, BDR that's coming in now that they're onboarded, now that they're expected to be productive. It's like collaboration is key. We actually did a company-wide call blitz yesterday here at PeopleLinx. Every single person in the company, CEO, CTO, head of product, interns, everybody. And I was running around like a madman, so charged up, because it was like I was back in when we were scaling Netel days. Because it's, I got a 7-person sales team now. It's smaller than what I was accustomed to, but I'm excited because of what we're building and what we're doing. But I had, 25 people all pounded the phones, and we're, my existing top BDRs are mentoring the interns on how to make calls. And so
exactly,
I'm diverting a little bit away from what you originally asked there, but that's what I was trying to get to is you put it out there. And so you have veterans mentoring the newer guys, and you're giving them something to aspire to, and give a timeline as to when they have to get there. And you're only going to be able to do that through regular one-on-ones, regular collaboration, whether it's daily stand-ups, daily one-on-ones, weekly one-on-ones, but you have to commit to that cadence of meetings, and you have to fulfill that. There's nothing more frustrating as a rep, as somebody's report, than when your boss, who you report to, constantly changes the meetings that you have with them.
Oh, snap.
Cool. Hey, Alex, I got one for you.
Yep.
I'd like to press in a little bit on that idea of working with a larger sales team. What does it feel like for you as a manager, from going from, just you or one other person, to actually having a team of 7 that you're responsible for?
So it's the 7 feels smaller for me now compared to like when the Netel days, when it was just every person in the company was an outbound salesperson. So my challenges are actually in it's easy to gamify stuff when you have 20 people. You can chop up teams a million different ways. You can throw different incentives out there, all these different things. When the team's smaller, it's actually harder. You have everyone right there, but if you run the same contests all the time, it starts to lose its flavor, and you don't have as much diversity. And so it's much more of a single team feeling when it is that, single digits numbers. Does that make sense, Nick, what you were looking for there? I don't know if I took it another way.
Yeah, so essentially you don't have as much variety with how you can incentivize. So just kind of keeping it fresh and keeping everybody motivated and pointed in the same direction is the bigger challenge.
Yep, absolutely. I saw a sense of competition yesterday when we had this full big company-wide thing that I haven't seen in most of my time here, because we had so many people going at it, and I had my top 2 BDRs pick teams. So it was literally, we had 2 teams going. Winning team starts their weekend at noon today.
Yeah.
And it's just it lit this fire that got, and the guys that came here with me from Netel were like, dude, this was so fun. This was everything that we used to drive all this stuff with, that we've kind of been missing, because it's a great team here, but it's one core. There isn't as much pitting guy versus guy, team versus team, because we're still growing, need to get there.
Exactly. So what kind of coaching do you get, AT, from your VP sales or CEO? What are the kind of feedback are you getting?
For me, it's to slow down. If you guys can't believe that one, but at times to just rein it in, take a deep breath, and not I go up, I go down, my emotions are always right here, and that's what I'm able to rally the troops and get groups to follow me into the fire every day. But at the same time, there's times when you gotta rein it in a little bit.
You're about to cross into the end zone, and you don't want to fumble that ball. I don't know if you guys saw the own goal yesterday scored by England in the stoppage time. What a heartbreaker.
Oh, man.
No, I don't play pool.
So how do you incentivize your more seasoned SDR, BDRs to work with some of the newbies? What's in it for them? Why should I spend any time with the new guy on the block? I've got a lot to quota to meet. What's in it for me?
Well, that's where when you do gamify it and you do have some contests going, I love pairing veteran with newbie, because then there's an actual stake in the development of that younger rep by the more experienced one. It's not always that easy. Top reps, I got my close friend and, top guy for years in most teams that I've led here, Josh Wolf, is we were at a similar point in our careers when we were about 25 years old. And I went the direction of management and leadership and teams. And he stayed being a super high performing top of the funnel guy that does really well for himself and doesn't have to worry about many other dynamics. And, and so it's honestly one of the things that challenges me. Luckily, I have guys that are super motivated, and we have a collaborative culture here that everybody wants to win, and there's no other way about it. But, it can be tough to do exactly what you're talking about there. That's one of the challenges.
Exactly. So I'm just tweeting here real quick. So I want to ask Nick, we had that big panel with Kyle Porter, and one of the takeaways that I got, Kyle suggested always hiring 2 SDRs when you're onboarding a new cohort, if you will. What are the advantages, Nick, and also any disadvantages that you might see in that approach?
And bringing 2 on at the same time. Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I love the just that thought line with, I can bring these 2 people on, give them similar content, onboard them the same way, and then also allow them to work together to just establish their best practices and get familiar with what sort of a cadence and volume that they're going to be doing, so that they can sort of settle into that tech groove and keep things, rolling right along. I mean, one thing that I know is crazy. Like if you're the only one doing lead gen for a company, it's impossible to stop, to go on vacation, to do something else, unless you have somebody that could actually babysit that workload. So that's an interesting point for me.
I agree completely. And also the other thing is it gives you sort of a direct comparison. So essentially you've got two guys at the same level. Hey, London, we're going to give you some time here. Take a quick breather. Nice relocation. You've got two guys coming in pretty much at parity, right? And so as one guy makes progress and the other doesn't, you can start to do a little comparative analysis and see why one is succeeding but the other might, in order to bring the other one back up. I'm a big fan of this idea, but I find that startups are looking at just hiring one at a time. I think two actually works as a cohort to kind of pull each other up by the bootstraps. You almost have a kind of an inherent buddy system, kind of like what AT was talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the idea. I mean, it's in a perfect world, you can say always hire repairs, and you could work hard to things are going your way to hold yourself to that, right? We don't always get a perfect world. We got to play the hand we're dealt at times. But like to Nick's point there, if you're the only guy that's doing outbound, if you're the only guy that's setting meetings, it's a grind. And if no one else in the company is doing that specific job, then like you're off on an island by yourself. And as much as you have a rah-rah leader or, people that believe in you, if you're the only guy doing it, it's tough to want to do it every day. But all it takes is to have a second person that you're bouncing ideas off of, that you're collaborating with, that you're developing with and growing with. And that same dynamic is flipped on its head and, going towards growth as opposed to the other way.
London, I'm going to shoot that question to you. I know you're hiring a new SDR. Kyle Porter recently suggested hiring two at the same time. What, in your opinion, is the pro and also the con of doing two new SDRs? Oh, sound check. We can't hear you. Oh, bummer. There we go.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think what Alex was saying earlier, setting expectations, I think is key, regardless of how many hires you have. I am wary of like hiring when like they say, looking to fire. So when you bring on a group, to make sure that, you understand that you're there to coach all of them, not to look for one to succeed and, one to kind of fail off. So using that competitiveness to drive both people, not just to kind of look for a weakness in one versus the other, I think is key.
Excellent. So I want to kind of build a little bit of a manager's playbook, if you guys don't mind. Just kind of throw out a couple of key tips from a coaching and also a retention standpoint. How do you keep your SDRs motivated? Let's say they've been there 8 to 12 months. They've got this system down, but they're pretty smart and they need a little bit more challenge. AT, let's jump back to you. How do you keep your SDRs, your best and your brightest, really engaged?
Increased responsibility, and it doesn't always have to be tied with a monetary back end. The guys that I see as future leaders, the guys that I see as the top performing, future like quota carrying reps, if you just give them more to own, more to do, they're going to grab it. I mean, I love when guys take ownership of stuff. Even if it's a little project that isn't directly their thing, they own it and they come back to me and they say, this is what I did. Or like, you just got to trigger that ownership, find what their passion is and play off that. I could go on forever when I'm talking like that. So London, let me hear what you got.
No, I think it's, Nick probably could speak to this. Being in the Army, when you see like a young guy who's hungry, like you said, give him more responsibility. It doesn't necessarily have to be within the well-defined circles of what an SDR normally does, but have them look at processes, ask them what could be more efficient, what could be more effective, especially get them in front of senior leadership people and let them, have a seat at the table. Because a lot of people, like I said, they look at SDRs as kind of like a starting point, which it very well could be. but there are a lot of people who like the SDR job, who want to be operational side of sales, who like looking at these metrics, these levers, what to pull. So yeah, just give them more responsibility. Let them know that they have, full control kind of over their career, for one, whether it's going into an AE role or going into a manager side role. Once again, it all goes back to setting expectations, understanding what drives them. And what Alex said is, I think, super important, that it's not always money driven. A lot of people look at sales and they say, oh, we have to give more commissions, we have to give more money. Good people will want to do good things. And if you hire the right way from the beginning, you can motivate people in a million other reasons other than, a bigger paycheck.